If you're active on the internet, there's a pretty good chance that in the last week you have seen at least one ad from Monday.com. The question is, can you use Monday.com to manage your localization projects? Hey guys, this is Andrei. Welcome back. Long time no see. This will be a new series where I want to try out these new modern platforms, project management, team collaboration, work management software, however you want to call it. They allow you to do many different things, but what we'll be focusing on in this series is to see how you can actually use them to manage your localization project. So this series will be mostly there for the project managers. From my experience, most of you are probably using Excel spreadsheet, and there's nothing wrong with it because spreadsheet gives us a lot of flexibility. But I wanted to try out some of these new modern software platforms to see if they could be used for our projects. We're going to have a very simple scenario. I will be scheduling two projects. One of them is very simple, just translation, review, delivery. The second one is more complicated. There are different sets of tasks for different languages. So this makes things a little bit more complicated, and you can see how I dealt with it using Monday.com. And then finally, I'm going to create a dashboard which sort of unites the information from the two projects that we created so that you can see your projects in just one central view, so you can manage your project at the same time and you don't have to click through each project. You should also know that I'm just simply sticking to the free version of Monday.com, so if you want, you can follow me or you can just give it a try for your own actual real projects. I think I said enough. Let's get right into Monday.com so I can show you how I created the project, and you can follow me if you want to. When you create an account, you will probably have a different first screen that you see once you log into Monday.com, because I was already trying to create some test projects before. I'm going to start from my main workspace that was already created for me. And the way that we're going to create the projects, our localization projects and the schedules for them, is by having them on a board. There are a lot of ways how you can think about it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to have one project on each separate board. So let's create our first board, which will be our first project. You can select a few templates here, which are specifically for project management, but I'm going to create one from scratch. Okay, board name, we're just simply going to call it Project A and create a board, and let's start filling it out for our project. Do you want to save this? No, go away. So first of all, this is our project. For this one, we're going to keep it very simple, and we're just going to have one scope for all the languages in this project. So that means I don't need another group, and I'll just delete it. So we'll be fine just with one group. In the next project, I'll show you how we can utilize the different groups. So for this group, I'm just going to say that this will be German, French, Japanese, and Korean. Okay. And when it comes to the columns, so first of all, the columns that we're going to be using, date, I don't use date here because date is just, doesn't show the duration. So I'm going to remove a date, and instead we're going to add a timeline. So timeline is going to indicate to us when the item starts and when it ends. And by item, we basically mean the task. Here are some statuses predefined by Monday. For now, we can keep it as it is for this level of items. I'll show you how the status works on a different level of items in a while. And let's start planning, scheduling. Okay, so first we're going to start. This is a very simple project with a translation. And maybe I can indicate that this one is 30K. Okay. So this is the translation, and we assume that all the languages are running in parallel for translation. So it would be very easy to put this on the timeline, and I'm actually going to do it. And what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that we started the last Monday 1 week ago, so 26th. Okay. So we started 26th, and because it's 30K, it's going to take us 3 weeks. So 1, 2, 3, so until Friday. Hopefully I'm correct, okay? Now, what is important for me when I'm going to be testing these softwares is the ability to go deeper in your monitoring and status tracking. So what I normally teach my students is that it's okay that you have your schedule for all 4 languages, but there are, let's say, multiple sub milestones or sub stages that you go through in order to get the translation done, right? And what I mean by that is that, I don't know, you have heads up, you send the heads up for the task, then the heads up gets confirmed, then you send the handoff, then the handoff gets confirmed, and then hopefully you get the delivered translation. So this is what we're going to be tracking on this level. So here I added the sub items from here. Let me show you if this works. So here we are. This is the main level of items, and here I'm going to add a sub item. As you can see, it's still in a beta. I don't know why, but it's working pretty fine. The problem is that you cannot go another level. So here, if I'm on the sub item level, I cannot add another sub item. You can only create new sub items above or below, which means it's the same level. So the way that I use this is that we have this main task about translation. So I'm going to create sub items for each language. Let's say translation. Okay, we're going to have French, we're going to have Japanese and Korean, okay? The reason why I track this is that we want to track the sub stages for these individual tasks for each language. And so I'm going to do that by modifying the statuses. One thing that is worth noting is that these statuses that you define here are independent from the statuses that are defined on this level. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete all of these things. I'm going to leave this one that's sort of like not started. And what I'm going to add is I'm going to add 2 yellow ones and then 2 green ones, okay? I'll move this to the bottom because I want the statuses to be ordered in a way that I will probably go through the stages. I'll mix it a little bit like this. And what I'm going to do is here, this is heads up sent. This one will be heads up confirmed. This one will be handoff sent. This one will be handoff confirmed. And I need one more, which I forgot. I'll use the black one. That will be delivered. Okay. I'll click apply. And so what this means is that here I can track as a project manager when I don't know, send the heads up for German, and maybe the French translator has already confirmed that they're available for the task. And then once the time comes for the handoff, I'm going to, once I send the handoff to all the languages, I'm going to set everything to handoff sent, and I want the translators to confirm. So let's say the French and Japanese, they confirm. And for some reason, I think this status is set to something special because of that animation. It looks like it's considering it as done. I don't know where exactly I can set it, or if it's just because it's the green one. Anyway, so this is how you can utilize the statuses. One important thing that I have to share with you is that you can also define the columns for the sub items. And again, these are independent from these ones. So if by any chance your languages are running on a different schedule, what you can do is you can define it here. So let's say this one is starting from 26th and it ends on August 14th. So the same as the, let's say, the main task. And let's say for French, we would have it start from 26, but we give, I don't know, 1 extra day to the French translator. Okay. Now, here is the thing. you have this option to show summary on parent item, which is super useful to me. And what it does, it shows you the timeline of the sub items, and it shows from the earliest to the latest one. So now you can see that instead of showing it from July 26 to August 13, it also shows until August 16. That's because the French ends on August 16th. So if I change this French to finish on, I don't know, maybe 18th, you can see that it immediately changed here as well. So this is very useful. The problem that I found with this one is that this column here, let me collapse these sub items. So these columns here only works for the sub items. So for the tasks where you don't have any sub items, you cannot enter anything. You would need to enter the date through the sub items. And in case you have some tasks that don't need to be tracked for each language separately, then you might utilize a different column for the timeline to set the dates, but then it's a little bit confusing because then you have the dates in two different columns. Now, soon I will show you how this looks like on the Gantt chart. And even if you have two different columns with timelines, you can still use both columns to show the tasks correctly on the Gantt chart. But the problem is that it looks very weird here in this tabled view. So this is really your preference. The advantages with this is, again, like I mentioned, that if you change it on the, let's say, the language level, here on the sub item level, to speak in terms of Monday, it will automatically update here. But the problem is that you will have two columns for the dates. So for now, I'm just going to delete this, and that's it. Good thing is that you can also use Ctrl+C and Ctrl+V on the timeline. So I copied the timeline from here and I can paste it to the other languages. Let's say this one is hand of send. Okay, so this is our translation. Let's continue with the next task, which will be review. And here I'm just going to say that it's 40 hours. There's a way how you can also track the scope for the tasks in individual. I mean, you can create a column for that, which would indicate it. I'm just using it here so that I can see it then in the Gantt chart. And again, I'm going to do the same thing for the review. Oops, not what I wanted to do. So I'm going to add a sub item. And here we're going to say it's German review. And the statuses should be the same one, as you can see here. So this means that the statuses are defined on the sub item level, regardless of the tasks. So I will not fill this up, but let's just focus on this part. So if it's 40 hours, it means it will, if translation ends August 13, so then let's say we start here. And if it's 40 hours, that's 1 week of work, right? And another thing that I forgot to mention before is this is where I think you can also collaborate easily with the people, because you can add, you can assign the owners right here in monday.com. So I assume that they would get a notification and they can take over the task. There's also a way, like I mentioned before, that you can add statuses for the effort. So this is another way how you can notify your reviewers or translators of how much work there is to do. And of course, there's this thing, conversation, so you can communicate with the people right on the task that they're working on. So I think that's pretty cool. Status, I won't be filling it out, but let's say these guys, well, they haven't probably even started, right? So let's say that we at least send a heads up. What did I do? I just wanted to copy this thing, and now I'm a little bit lost. There we go. Okay. And timeline. Okay, I'll fill it out just to be sure. So that would be August 16 to August 20. Yes, thank you. And copy this. And okay, we have our review. All right, let me collapse this. And then finally, we'll just track the delivery date, and that will be, let's say that we're going to do it the same day. So 20th, okay? And this is our first project, very simple one, with a granular tracking of each language. And for the delivery, I'm not going to add the granularity because I don't think it's important. We hopefully want to deliver the whole project at once. And there's one thing, this was here by default, so this is probably not started yet, right? Okay, so you can also assign the main task to someone. This one is assigned to me. So here we have the timeline, here is the status. Here we have sort of like an aggregator, like a total for all the tasks within that group item. So that might be useful, but what I think is more useful is to have a Gantt chart. There is a special one here, so we're going to add, so you are just adding a different view. The data is the same for all the project. So this will be our Gantt chart view for this very simple project. And here you can customize what timelines are used, so which columns are used to show the timelines. We only have one right now, but previously I was telling you that if I had the sub-item timelines, I could also show those as a data. So grouping is by group, that's okay because we only have one group here. Labeled by name, so this is maybe where it's good that I put in, so this is basically the name of the items. And I can also see the effort because I put them there. Color by group, that's okay, not that important. Another thing which maybe might be good for you, I prefer to see it on a day-to-day basis, and I can also zoom out a little bit. This is the maximum zoom. And this line here shows where we are today. So right now you can see that you are doing the translation and you're within these 4 languages, and that's your project A, right? Everything here is project A. And then you can see that your review starts from here to there, and here's the delivery. You can also technically play with the durations here if you want to. And that's it. Now that we have the simple project, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a second project. And for that, maybe I'm going to utilize this one so I don't have to set up the columns and the statuses again. So I'll just duplicate this board. And I want to duplicate structure only. Let's see if it works. Okay, so here we are. And this will be project B. Now for project B, this one will be a little bit more complicated. We will have different scopes for two sets of languages, and we're also going to add pre-processing. So let me start by adding a new group of items. That's how we're going to split this. So this will be a group for language independent, and we're going to have pre-processing here. Then we're going to have a group for, I think I do normally German and Japanese. And then we're going to add one more group, which I would like to drag below this one. No. Okay, there we go. And this one will be for French and Korean. Okay, now let me look at my scope, how we do this. So we said pre-processing is 10 hours, and let me just load up the tasks here. So this is what we have here. Again, what you could and what maybe you probably should, if you want to really track what is happening with, let's say, German translation, you can add a sub item here. You can assign it to someone if by any chance they're on your platform, if you want to use it that way, okay? Maybe I should have said that my first goal is to show how maybe the project managers could use this just for their own tracking before they go even think about collaborating with all the vendors on Monday.com. And here again, you could track the statuses. Let's say we sent the handoff, and you would add the language sub-items for each task where you need it to be. Okay, so I'm just going to collapse it, and then this is our project. And maybe if translation, so that one is done, so this one is working on it, and this one is also being worked on. Actually, this one should be completed by now, right? So let's say this one is work in progress. Did I get it right? I think I got it right. And we already have the Gantt view here, and this is what I like, except that it's not set to days, so I'm going to set it to days. I'm going to zoom out, and this is our beautiful Gantt chart. This is what I really like. And you can even drag and move it around, so this is perfect. So here we can see it's split into the different groups, and each group has its own, let's say, sort of timeline. And this is the language independent. This is the timeline for German and Japanese because they have a different scope, and this is a timeline for French and Korean. So today is August 3rd, and you know where exactly you are. So you're doing translation for German, Japanese, and you're doing DTP for French and Korean. And here you can see your delivery, and here's another delivery. One thing that you can do is for the delivery dates, because they may be important, we can set them as a milestone. And I think the milestones are displayed differently on the Gantt chart with this diamond. Yep, there it is. So this might be useful for you. And this is what I just discovered right now. You can easily expand and collapse it just by clicking on it. To take it even further away, and this is where I'm going to show you maybe the limitation of Monday.com, is that ideally you want to see overview of all your projects, right? Because you don't want to look at here, just, okay, this is the project, and then you have to go to another project and then look where it is right now. You want to sort of have one central view of all your projects. So there are a few ways how to do this based on my initial research. So given that we put these two projects separately on their own boards, the best thing that I can suggest right now is to create a new dashboard. So I'm going to call this dashboard My Projects. And here we're going to select the boards that we're going to get the data from. And we want to use the Gantt widget. Okay. So I tried this before, and I think it needs some time to get the information here. So I'm going to give it some time until it loads up the data, and then we're going to look at how to customize this. Okay, so now we have the projects loaded up here, so let's play with the settings a little bit. What we want to see, and you can also already see that by default it also shows the timeline of the sub items, which I think is great. Here we can see that the French translation is a little bit longer, but I think the grouping is not correct here. So we want to group it not by groups, but by boards, right? Because each board is a different project for us, right? Good. We have here project A and project B. And is there something else I'm missing? Choose which column to group the bars by. So by project, sub items, by parent. This is all looking good, I think. We still have the labels for sub items. Okay, now we're showing the sub items of these. But maybe if you have this unified view, maybe you don't need to see the sub items. Maybe we can squeeze it in a little bit. Okay. So this is this. Okay, so that was our grouping. These are our labels. For some reason we don't have the labels for project B. Okay, now it's there. View settings. Show group summary. We have the summary. Today's indication, that's good. Show weekends is good, but what I want to change is, again, I want to see the days. There we go, beautiful. I can drag around. Nice. And color by, I think here the color I want to buy boards. And I think that's it. So here's just the boards that we selected, and here you can select which groups you're showing. So we basically want all groups, and here we also want all groups. Okay, so this is only where you set it. So once you finish the setting, you can actually modify how much space you want this to take, because this is sort of like your dashboard where you can add widgets and customize their size and appearance and everything else. One thing that I wanted to say is that you can see here that, okay, we have it split, grouped by the projects which are defined on their each individual board. The problem that I see here is that for project B, you can see that all the tasks are pretty much just on the same level, right? Here you can see here DTP. So this one for August 3 to August 6, that's I think for French and Korean. Those are starting earlier, if I'm not mistaken. Where are we? DTP, yeah, August 3 to August 6, and this one is August 12. But that information is lost here. Okay, so because I decided here to group by boards, the problem is that there's no second level of grouping. So ideally what I would like to see is if you can group by boards, which preserves your projects, and then also still group by groups. I can also group by groups, but that only leaves me like this. Okay, that was maybe a little bit anticlimactic, but that was the first video in the series. Hopefully you liked it. If you want to see more platform software that I try to schedule localization projects, be sure to subscribe to our channel. And if you like this one about Monday.com, give it at least a thumbs up and maybe share with your friends. If you don't like it, then that's fine with me, because I do enjoy trying out new software, new platforms, so I will still do at least a couple of episodes with new software and see how it goes. Thank you for watching this first episode in this new series, and I will hopefully see you in some other video, and until then, cheers, bye bye.